Our house, you have to understand, is a whirlwind of activity, literally from the moment my wife and I get out of bed until the moment we collapse back into it at the end of the day. Spending the day at our home is enough to exhaust just about anyone. First off, our kids have energy. Lots and lots of energy. Ridiculous amounts of energy. Multiplied by 5, it's enough energy to power the city of Cleveland. And the kids somehow magically feed off each other's energy, each consuming and mirroring the others. Then our 3 dogs feed off it, and then the house itself seems to feed off it. A typical day includes at least one sick child, toys strewn from one end of the living room to the other that magically reappear the moment after they've been put away, dogs barking, kids laughing, the phone ringing off the hook, FedEx and UPS deliveries coming and going, kids whining, lost homework, appliances breaking, school projects due tomorrow that our kids somehow forget to tell us about until the last minute, baseball practice, gymnastics practice, football practice, taekwondo practice, repairmen coming and going, doors slamming, kids running down the hallway, kids throwing things, kids teasing each other, kids asking for snacks, kids crying because they fell, kids cuddling up on your lap, or kids crying because they need you right this minute. When my in-laws leave after visiting for a week, they can't get to the airport soon enough. There are deep bags under their eyes, and they carry the dazed, shell-shocked expression of veterans who just survived the landing on Omaha Beach. Instead of saying goodbye, my father-in-law shakes his head and whispers, "Good luck. You're going to need it." My wife accepts all of this activity in the house as normal. She's patient and seldom gets flustered. My wife seems to actually enjoy it most of the time. My wife, I might add, is a saint. Either that or maybe she is insane. In our house, it's my job to handle the mail. It has to be done, after all, and in the course of our marriage, this is one of those little responsibilities that has fallen in my lap. The day that I received the brochure in the mail was a day like any other. Lexi, who was 6 months old, had a cold and refused to let my wife put her down. Miles had painted the dog's tail with fluorescent paint and was proudly showing it off. Ryan needed to study for a test but forgot the textbook at school and had decided to solve the problem by seeing how much toilet paper could be flushed down the toilet. Landon was coloring on the walls again, and I can't remember what Savannah was doing, but no doubt it was something distressing since at 6 months old she was already learning from her siblings. Add to that the television blaring, dinner cooking, dogs barking, and a ringing phone, and the chaotic roar seemed to be reaching a fever pitch. I suspected that even my saintly wife might be nearing the end of her rope. Pushing away from the computer, I took a deep breath and stood from my desk. Marching into the living room, I took one look around at the world gone crazy and, with instincts only men seem to possess, I knew exactly what to do. I cleared my throat, felt everyone's attention momentarily swing to me, and calmly announced, "I'm going to see if the mail's come in yet." A minute later, I was out the front door. Because our house is set a ways back from the road, it usually takes 5 minutes to walk out to the box and back. The moment I closed the door behind me, the mayhem ceased to exist. I walked slowly, savoring the silence. Once back in the house, I noticed that my wife was trying to clean the cookie crumb drool from her shirt while holding both babies simultaneously. Landon was standing at her feet, tugging at her jeans, trying to get her attention. At the same time, she was helping the older boys with their homework. My heart surged with pride at her ability to multitask so efficiently, and I held up the stack of mail so she could see it. "I got the mail," I offered. She glanced up. "I don't know what I'd do without you," she answered. "You're such a big help around here." I nodded. "Just doing my job," I said. "No reason to thank me." Like everyone else, I get my share of junk mail, and I separated the important mail from the non-important. I paid the bills, skimmed through articles and a couple of magazines, and was getting ready to toss everything else into the circular file cabinet when I noticed a brochure I'd initially put in the trash pile. It had come from the alumni office at the University of Notre Dame and advertised a journey to the lands of sky worshippers. The tour was called Heaven and Earth and would travel around the world over a 3-week period in January and February 2003. Interesting, I thought, and I began to peruse it. The tour, by private jet no less, would journey to the Mayan ruins in Guatemala, the Incan ruins in Peru, the stone giants of Easter Island, and the Polynesian Cook Islands. There would also be stops at Ayers Rock in Australia Angkor Wat and the Killing Fields and Holocaust Museum in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, the Taj Mahal and the Amber Fort of Jaipur in India, the rock cathedrals of Lalibela, Ethiopia, the Hypogeum and other ancient temples in Malta, and finally, weather permitting, a chance to see the Northern Lights in Tromsø, Norway, a town located 300 miles north of the Arctic Circle. As a child, I'd always been fascinated with ancient cultures and faraway lands, and as I read the description of each proposed stop, I found myself thinking, I've always wanted to see that. It was an opportunity to take the trip of a lifetime to places that had lingered in my imagination since boyhood. Yet, when I finished looking through the brochure, I sighed thinking, maybe one day. Right now, I just didn't have the time. 3 weeks away from the kids, from my wife, from my work? Impossible. It was ridiculous, so I might as well forget about it. I shoved the brochure